Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story is titled, My Dad Begrudges Spending Money on Me. I've changed the names in this in case anyone finds it and recognizes it. I need this off my chest as it bothers me a lot and has been for more than a decade now. My 24 female parents split when I was 9 years old. They were teenagers when they had me, and I remember their relationship wasn't always the greatest when they were together. Lots of arguments and shouting. When they split, I stayed with my mother, 42 female, in the house they had bought together, whilst my dad, 41 male, moved away to live with a friend of his, Mike. That was a lie. Mike was actually Emma, who'd been seeing while he was still with my mum. Dad eventually married Emma, but they had divorced a few years later. He's now with another woman, Jane. After my parents split, my dad didn't bother to see me for months and paid nothing towards my mum to help take care of me. He later tried to have us kicked from the house so he could redecorate it and sell it, despite me and mum having nowhere to stay. Eventually, my mum found us a rented place nearby to live in. We lived there for nearly 10 years, during which time my dad had finally started to visit me and also pay child support, though very reluctantly. He was unwilling to help my mum in other ways. Once, my school shoes were ruined, and when the weather had been constantly bad for weeks and my mum couldn't afford a new pair, so my dad gave her the money, then skimmed it off the next child support payment. I should note here that my dad is an engineer and has always earned at least 10k more a year than my mum, who is a secretary. For most of my teenage years, my mum was on less than 20k a year while supporting the both of us. My dad's ex-wife was also an engineer, and his current girlfriend earns somewhere along the lines of 22k. Even though he earned more, my dad begrudged having to pay for me. Whilst he was with his ex-wife, I was rarely invited to any outings. When I was 13, he stopped putting my name on Christmas and birthday presents to family members and insisted I now had to get my own. Since I obviously didn't have a job or an allowance, this usually fell on my mum or other family members to pay for. For my 18th, he promised to take me to Glasgow for a Comic Con there, but it was cancelled. I can't remember the exact reason, but I believe it was because the celebrity we were hoping to meet had cancelled attending. Either way, I never got an 18th birthday present as he offered no replacement. A similar thing happened for my 21st. He booked to take me to the Warner Brothers studio tour in London, but then convinced me to cancel a couple of weeks before we were due to go due to bad weather for driving down. The weather turned out to be fine. We were supposed to rebook when the COVID pandemic hit, and he's occasionally mentioned rebooking the trip since restrictions have lifted, but he has yet to make any plans and I doubt he will fulfill this, just like my 18th. He's also recently stopped paying for me if we go for something to eat. I wasn't too bothered by this as I am in my 20s, until recently, when I realized he'd only stopped paying for me once I decided to attend uni. I only started attending uni when I was 21, and whilst I was working from age 17 to 21, he always paid for me. Now that I have my student loan, I pay for myself, and a few times he has convinced me to pay for his and his girlfriend too. I don't know if this is because he thinks I have some surplus money, because I really don't. I pay rent, my phone bill, commute expenses, etc. Recently, I've been very short on money. I've started my master's degree and the loan is a lot less. Not to mention I work in a pub that's rather quiet, so I only have 1 or 2 shifts a week, and that money typically pays for my commute or lunches that week. When he asked if I wanted to go for something to eat one weekend last month, I knew I wouldn't be able to afford it, so I turned it down, and he didn't offer in any way to spot me one time. When we were going, it would have cost around £15 max to help me out one time, and I would have offered to pay him back once I had the money. The boiling point this year was last week, when his girlfriend admitted to me that they hadn't bought me anything I had asked for Christmas. This wouldn't bother me except I had asked for 3 books that I desperately want to read. Her excuse was that they were budgeting, so they had to buy presents early on. But I sent them my list in October, and one of the books was £7. If he had gotten me that and only that, I would have been happy. I want to read it. Instead, I'm getting a bunch of things that I don't want or need. They always get me makeup that goes to waste. It's especially frustrating this year as I've gone out of my way to pay extra for postage to get their Christmas presents on time, and I got them things that they asked for, yet they can't even return the favour for me. My dad did have an accident this year with his hand that put him out of work for a while on sick pay, and he has been on strike a lot, and I suspect a lot of people have, so I understand that he's shorter on money this year. But again, one of the books was £7, and this is without even mentioning the fact that he has a brand new car, a made-to-order BMW that he got just a couple of months back, and a 4-bedroom house. At my undergrad graduation, he was bragging about all this to Mum, the same woman he couldn't be bothered helping to raise me for years. I can't even bring this up to my dad if I wanted to. He always turns things around on me as if it's my fault. When I was 16, I was upset that every time I saw him, we would just go into town and wander around bored for ages, whilst he ignored a lot of what I was saying. When I told him about this, he said it was my fault because I never gave any ideas for alternative plans. Another time he berated me until I was crying when I mentioned we rarely talk because it was my responsibility to get in touch with him, ignoring how he rarely got in touch with me. It's just incredibly frustrating, especially as he plays the doting father of the year in front of others. I'm at a point now where I don't care much for him. I'm tired of being seen as some kind of financial burden, and I don't see why I should have to keep forking out to make sure he gets what he wants for his Christmas and birthday and whatever, when he can't do the same in kind for his only child. I'd rather spend my time and energy on the parent who's always been there for me, not the dad who only occasionally decides he wants to be one. This might sound bratty, especially the money and presents, but it's nearly 16 years in the making and I am very tired. I just needed to vent this somewhere, as my dad will likely never change, and bringing it to him directly is something I'm not mentally prepared for. And there was only one comment on this one which Opie replied to from Robbie Blaze and says, "It's good to be aware. I think you're on the path of the right decision for you. If you don't feel like he's putting the effort in, he's probably not, and that's leading to even more stressed relationship. You can continue, which will inevitably lead to you breaking communication completely once these feelings boil over, or you can be direct and let him know where he stands and where you stand, which will create the space for positive change to come through. The only downside would be is if he went absentee, but it sounds like he's already there." Opie says, "I feel a bit silly that it's taken me so long to finally reach boiling point. Others have been warning me for years and I've ignored it and let it get to this point. I think I'm on track for breaking communication. Rather than being direct because I'm scared it gets turned around on me, I've let my grandparents, his parents know about all this, as they were largely unaware, and they're not happy at all. We're keeping peace over Christmas, but my nan refuses to let it sit. I think in the end no contact, but honestly, that doesn't bother me much, as it would have 10 years ago. Thank you." And I think for me, like, one of the questions that always pops into my mind, reading so many of these different stories now, is what the person brings into your life. And again, I think I need to say this every single time because I know it's not as simple as your brain plays a lot of games with you because they're family and, this is your father, someone that you expect to love you. And we're told that we should love our parents and all this kind of thing, but family, that kind of stuff, I know it's not a simple thing. But the question always pops into my head, what are they bringing to your life? They don't sound like they're very interested in your life. They don't sound like they're bringing you much happiness. It sounds like a very one-sided relationship. You're mentioning the Christmas present and how, you're putting in the extra to try and get presents to them on time. And they don't even give a shit that you've asked for like the £7 book. And I just find it incredibly sad. A parent who should be incredibly proud of you and what you are doing with your life. You're attending uni, you're trying to better yourself, you was working at the same time to try and pay for yourself as well, and then he has the fucking cheek to try and get you to pay for stuff. Like I said, I would be incredibly proud of you and I'll be trying to support you in any way you can to achieve your dreams. And you just sound like you've been let down time and time again. So I ask the question again, what does this person bring into your life? When OP comes in to update the post 9 months later and says, "Around 9 months ago, I posted here about money issues surrounding my dad. The TLDR is that my dad just does not like spending money. He promised me these big presents over the years and cancelled them without making plans to rearrange or get something else, and begrudged getting me a £7 book that I really wanted last Christmas because they were budgeting. For Christmas last year, one of the presents he got me was a pack of balls. Not proper ones, but cheap plastic things with Harry Potter stickers on. He also got me a cheap Primark version of an Oodie, also Harry Potter. It just goes to show how little he knows about me. I'm not nearly as obsessed with Harry Potter as I was when I was 14 because I've grown up and because I disagree with JKR's views. If he bothered to know me or listen to me, he'd know this and he would have realized I'm more into Song of Fire and Ice, I think that is, and Lord of the Rings and video games now. He also should know that a pack of baubles isn't an appropriate Christmas present. Quite literally everyone has heard about this, has questioned it, or called it pathetic. The only people defending it are my dad and his girlfriend. One of the things I mentioned in my previous post was that he had bought tickets to the Warner Bros. Studio tour in London for my 22nd. The trip got cancelled because of COVID and then he never rebooked it. Well, my mum and her boyfriend, David, fake names in case someone finds and recognises this, got annoyed with his empty promises and ended up paying for me and her to go together. I wasn't all that bothered about not going anymore, through the combined disappointment from him and also the reasons mentioned above. But we still went and had a great day out. My dad wasn't happy. He always had a sour face and a noticeable dip in his mood whenever it was brought up, and he was very uninterested in my pictures when I tried to show him. If he was so annoyed that my mum took me in the end, he should have made plans to take me instead of leaving me in limbo. The real problems arose this summer. I was asked to dog sit for him over 2 weekends in August. The second time was for a cruise he and his girlfriend Jane were going on. I should note that Jane won the cruise through her job, so they didn't pay for it. At the time I was only working 1 shift a week and had to take that shift off in order to be free to dog sit for them. My job is cash in hand, so I wasn't paid all that week. My dad and his girlfriend returned. They didn't offer me any payment or even bring back something small. I'm not even really bothered about the payment, but some acknowledgement of the fact that I took time off work, missed out on wages and looked after their dog and their house for a weekend would have been nice. Even if it had just been a keyring or a magnet. But my nan pointed out that it was wrong of him to not offer me payment. My dad said they'd bought food in for me. Wow, good job feeding your daughter or she dog sits for you. Father of the year. Before they went away, my dad mentioned that he wasn't seeing my nan and granddad, his parents, for a while because they never come to see him. Not only did this upset because it caused upset with them, but it also meant that he had an excuse to not see me. We only ever went to my nan and granddad's when he came over to see me, and he didn't bother seeing me at all from the start of July, besides when I was dog sitting, which just shows me that he doesn't want to see me either. Things came to a head in mid-September. Jane texted me to say that since no one in the family had invited them to any Christmas dues, they would be staying home. They added they wouldn't see me until my birthday, so I wouldn't see my dad or my grandparents at all until I made arrangements. When I spoke to my grandparents, they said they hadn't invited them to anything because it was only September and they weren't even thinking about Christmas, which is completely understandable. It annoyed me more that my dad got Jane to message me instead of doing it himself. He's a coward. I ended up getting annoyed enough that I sent a long text detailing a lot of these problems to him. I will admit that I got snippy with him and did swear a bit, and I called him pathetic after his response, where he said, "I'm sorry you feel that way, and you're entitled to your own opinion," instead of a proper response. I blocked him and Jane on Facebook and WhatsApp, but I didn't block their numbers. Jane sent me a very long response message, during which she tried to guilt trip me over the baubles because apparently she bought them, saying clearly I need to stop buying Christmas presents, and then over wanting to be paid for dog sitting as she thought it was just something nice family does for each other. She contradicted herself later by claiming she and my dad were planning on doing something for me this month to say thank you, which I don't believe for a second. Jane also said that she and my dad were in such dire straits with their finances last year that they almost lost their house. My reaction to that was to wonder then, why does my dad have his brand new made-to-order BMW? Why does Jane have a BMW? Why do they need a 4-bedroom house that they can't afford when there's only 2 of them living there? I understand my dad had his accident. They can't brag about these things to me and my mum and then say they're in debt. And if they were in such bad straits, they would have told me. I would have understood and told them to not bother getting me anything. I'd rather have nothing than people going into debt for me or getting me shit I don't want. I got very angry with Jane though, as she was the one to send me the message. She claimed my dad tried to send it on WhatsApp but he was blocked. But I haven't blocked his number, so he could have texted me. Instead he let his girlfriend do it after I had to go to him for letting his girlfriend do his dirty work for him in my initial text. I called him out on this and did call both of them pathetic Her response was that he was at work, so I didn't bother replying again. I'd had enough and knew I would say something awful. A lot of people are against me cutting them off for good. Even my mum thinks it would be best to talk to him face to face and at least be on Christmas and birthday card basis. However, when my grandparents asked him about the situation, he summarized it as I sent a full message full of bad language where I was upset I didn't get good enough presents and that he doesn't give me enough money. That killed any desire to talk to him at all. He completely glossed over how unwanted and unappreciated he makes me feel. How he brags about his amazing life and victimizes himself constantly. He's a narcissist and I'm done with him. I do feel bad in some aspects, as he's a much better dad than what some people get stuck with, but I'm also so done. If I come across as bratty or selfish, then that's fine. I just don't want anything to do with him anymore. Lucy Crash says, I know. What kind of adult wouldn't want their father to show love or that they care about them? / sarcasm. Your dad and his girlfriend don't care about anyone but themselves. I'd cut them off, OP, but ultimately it's your choice. You want to just send cards and that's fine. My dad wasn't the best at paying child support for me. His excuse was the money wasn't going to just me. Help keep a roof over my head. Not just my mum and half brothers, but he always made sure I knew he loved me more than anything and spoiled me as much as he could on his weekends. He wasn't perfect, but I love and miss him every day. I'm sorry yours sucks so much. OP says, I know, right? How dare I expect to be shown some appreciation from my literal dad? Yeah, to be honest, I'm perfectly fine never speaking to either one of them again. I'll probably end up on a card sending basis at some point. If anything, to keep the peace with his side of the family, because my grandparents are obviously very upset about the whole situation, but choosing not to take sides. But for the foreseeable future, I'd rather pretend he just doesn't exist. Your dad doesn't sound perfect like you say, but he does sound like he was actually making an effort for you. And I think OP's going down the right path. Like I said, these people bring in nothing to your life but pain by the sounds of it. So slowly cutting that contact, I think your life will be just a lot more peaceful. Like I said, I know it's not that simple. I got to question what they are actually bringing. And OP, if you do hear this, please get in touch with me at Mark Narrations over on Twitter. I'll get you those bloody books. Waffle Gang will sort you out right here. I can see you're from the UK, so I'll get these books to you super quick. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? What would you advise to OP? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's go to the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from one more little story, shall we? And this story is from MeowWow912, who says, Am I the arsehole for explaining to a man who refused to mind his business? What happens if I drink regular cow's milk in my latte? Now, I haven't read the story yet, but I'm going to give a warning just in case you're eating. That we're probably going to be talking about number 2 at some point throughout this story. So if you're eating, you might want to stop just for a moment or two. I had some tests to have run at my local hospital today. In the hospital is a coffee place. It isn't Starbucks, but it's a local place that has a few locations in my area. When I was all done with my medical stuff, I decided to treat myself to a coffee. Why not indeed? I got in a long line behind a man that I noticed kept muttering about something. I noticed every time someone in front of him ordered a coffee with some sort of plant milk, he would mutter louder. Finally, he was up to order. He looked around and loudly said, I want a regular drip coffee with real milk, not this frou-frou BS that everyone drinks these days. The barista rolled her eyes and got his coffee. He was standing nearby messing with his drink or something. I ordered a latte with oat milk. I was kind of waiting for him to say something, but I wasn't officially instigating because I always get oat milk. The guy looks at me and says, You know that's not milk, right? I said, Yeah, I know. He then says, It won't kill you to drink regular milk, right? It's good for you. Now here's where I might be an arsehole. I said, Yeah, it won't kill me, but I don't want to Hershey squit all the way home. I don't want to shit myself from now until there is nothing left in my stomach. So if you don't mind, I will take my oat milk latte and not shit myself, thanks. The guy threw his coffee away and left. The barista was in shock. Now I feel bad, and my husband said it was kind of uncalled for, but also laughed so hard when I told him. I get so annoyed when people decide to have some out-of-pocket thing to say to me. Edit, thanks for the kind responses. I have an issue saying rude things to people being rude to me, and then feel horrible about it later. You know, usually I'm of the opinion that there's a better way to deal with things, and sometimes the drama ain't worth it, especially someone like this who is looking for that attention. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes people just deserve both barrels, right? Guy decided to be an asshole, so he got what he deserved. But Wu says, and quotes, he then says it won't kill you to drink regular milk, right? It's good for you. Commenter says, well, he did ask, and you let him know in no uncertain terms that there are horrible stomachs and intestinal symptoms that follow. Some people need to hear it and then be disgusted in order for them to leave others alone and shut their mouths. What is his problem anyway? You each like your coffee the way you like it, and that's that. What do I give a shit if you drink oat milk? As long as you don't force me to drink it, I don't care. Not the arsehole. Empress Bunny says not the arsehole do totally deserve that for being a busybody. My husband was surprised that I never had a cappuccino until I was 40 plus. Me, I'm lactose intolerant, remember. Him, good point. I'm pleased with all the offerings we have now. Just like you. Tropical Diver says not the arsehole mostly. Yes, the guy very much had it coming. Who cares what you have or don't have in your coffee? And your response was hilarious. Now for any other customers, not so much. For the barista, I suspect she was cheering after she picked up her drawer off the floor, unless she was squeamish. Now, I remember when I was traveling backwards and forwards to Bicester for work, and my train would get there fairly early before work, so I'd walk into town and I'd always go into the local coffee shop and get a hot chocolate to take away. Absolutely love hot chocolate on a cold day, my favorite thing. And you'd see the same people there pretty much every morning because you'd turn up at the same time. And I can always remember this odd comment. Now, he wasn't being like nasty or anything like that, but he just sort of mentioned, he went, this wasn't the barista, this was another customer. He just went, you come into a coffee shop every day and get a hot chocolate. What's that all about? And I can remember like just really scrunching my face up and looking at him and just saying, I like hot chocolate. And then him just look at me in the same way, like I'm fucking from another planet or something. God, and this story just brought that strange interaction, and I'm still scratching my head, like literally right now, like what was what's going on in his head, man? But anyway, I'm gonna turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Have you ever called out someone in a queue or something like that before when they're just making stupid fucking comments? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you for just being absolutely incredible, not just towards me, but towards each other as well. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, drink some water.